Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening to everybody who's joined the session today. I hope I'm audible. If somebody can just put in the chat box if you all can hear me. Okay. So it's my pleasure to be here today and to take up this very interesting topic. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Namrata Singh. I'm the founder of Curacause Healthcare Solutions. It's a medical communication agency. The company is the team members are based in India, majority of them. I'm based in the Netherlands, and we do have offices in Singapore and US also. So we work across the globe and we work on various types of documents of medical writing, medical communication. And this is one topic which has, taken, I guess, everybody by storm. And so we were kind of pushed into thinking of this webinar where we wanted to share whatever we have learned till now. We are still exploring. It's not something where I can call myself or my team as an expert on this. It's a topic which is um, too broad for anybody to say that they are experts in it. We are still learning, we are still evolving. And today with me I have my other speaker with me today, Dr. Shruti. Shruti, if you can just switch on your camera. So both of us will be kind of talking about this interesting topic about how generative AI and what all we have come across, the information which is already there, which is published, some examples, and we are going to be talking about all that in the session. So the initial part I am covering where I'm talking about uh, what is a problem area and why do we need to know about AI, especially in context to scientific publications. And Shruti would be talking about the guidelines which are there, the ethical considerations which are important for us to know when we are working on research and when we are working on publications. And there is a couple of recommendations which have come up from some international bodies, which we will just cover at the end, towards the end of the session. So, Shruti, if you can just briefly introduce yourself, and then I'll start with the session.
Hello, thank you, Dr. Namrata, and welcome everyone to this session. And we look forward to for this particular webinar. It's going to be hopefully it is equally enlightening for all of you as well, and interesting for all of you as well, because this is quite a talk of the town these days. I'm Dr. Shruti here. I'm the technical head with Turacos, and I take care of all the different verticals, including medical communications, scientific publications, advisory boards, and real world studies, along with clinical research related documents. And we look forward for a very meaningful discussion today.
Thank you, Shruti. And actually, if I can just share something before we start the session. So when we decided on this topic, we really didn't know that how much of information we are going to come across. And believe me, like we've been working on the slides 5 minutes before the session also. So if if there are any errors or if you come across anything that you feel is not correct, please feel free to put in the comment, let us know. And as I mentioned that we all are still learning. So I'm going to share the presentation. We What we are going to do here is so that you see the disclaimers and you'll understand what I've been talking. So this is first disclaimer here. What we want to convey to all of you is that we are only focusing on the content development part of scientific publications. We are not talking about data analysis or image generations. Maybe that is a topic for some other session. And the second disclaimer, what I want to convey here is, with rapid advancements in generative AI, there are so many new features which are coming up every single day. And so whatever information we are sharing this day, so you can just consider it to be kind of updated till 18th April 2023, when we kind of, after that we did not find any new literature. So whatever we are talking to you is, updated by 18th April 2023. And as I mentioned, we are not experts in using generative AI. We are also exploring how to best use these tools, and we really look forward to, there may be some people in the audience who have worked on these tools, or maybe who have some experiences, and please feel free to share your experiences with us, give your suggestions. And it's something, where I guess the more exchange of information that we have, the better it is going to be for the whole medical writing community. Just a poll here. Have you published or are working on any scientific publication currently? So we would just like to understand the audience which we have. How many of you have already worked on publications? I'm just going to give a couple of seconds for everybody to give the response here. I guess we do have the responses. So about more than half of you have worked on publication or have published in the past. So you have, good experience of working on publications. Now, if we talk about a conventional publication process, I've just tried to, collate some of the, I would say, pain areas or the problem areas which are there, which require more time, which, leads errors or maybe rejections in the process. So one is obviously there, it requires a lot of effort. When we talk of publication, there is extensive literature search which has to be done. And if we take an average of about 50,000 hits only from PubMed, if you're only talking of one database, PubMed, and 50,000 hits if you are getting on any search string, it normally takes about 2 to 3 weeks to, kind of screen all those literature and come up with the right papers which we can, include in our publication. Second, there is it's obviously a time consuming process. So from the draft to journal submission normally takes about 3 to 4 months if, you are the author and you don't have too many approvals in between. So probably between 3 to 4 months dedicated for a dedicated author it will take. And the third challenge what many of us face is the rejection risk. Now, why are normally papers rejected? So this was a very interesting stats which we came across. Around 141 out of 3,664 articles which were retracted in 2021 were due to plagiarism. So we're talking of just one factor here, which is plagiarism, and then we have certain others which we have captured, which is grammatical errors, incorrect information, or repetition. There can be, duplicate content. So all of these are the challenge. What a conventional publication process, where the publication and all the steps are being handled by like by authors themselves, by, I would say, like in this case, human beings, and it is not machines which are, supporting or helping us. Now, what are we going to have in this session? I've already like kind of told this. So we talk about AI in scientific publication. How did it start? So actually, when was the seed established, and when did we start hearing about it? And then we have collated certain published papers who talk about generative AI in scientific publications. They speak of the good, they speak of the bad. So we have collated some of the papers. There are certain ethical concerns when we are using AI in scientific publication. We have kind of highlighted the ethical concerns which are there, and then spoken about the journals. What are some standard journals talking about it? How should we be using it? What are the best practices to use it? What are the disclaimers which we have to mention? And international organizations, so especially we are talking about World Association of Medical Editors, WAME. So they came up with a recommendation very recently, and that is the first recommendation which has come up, and rest are yet to follow. Now, the second interesting poll: how many of you have used AI in scientific publication? So, just to tell you, we an example here. So, one of the projects recently we received where we had to do a very huge amount of literature search, and I think Shruti, there were around how many hits were there in that project? Two
Around,
lakhs.
yeah, 2 lakhs. 2
Two
lakhs
lakhs.
57,000, yeah.
And we had, and the timeline was very short, and that was the first time when our team actually went ahead and we worked with the technology team and we created our own literature search tool. So we did that. We were able to share the searches with the client, but then later on when the client was reviewing it, there were a couple of papers which they asked us that we have missed them. And the first instance which came to us was probably it is the tool's mistake, because we had not evaluated all the papers manually. So we really thought that it is something that the tool has done wrong. But then when we went back and we saw the search strings and how we could not capture the paper, so thankfully, like, it was not a mistake of the tool, and it was the client had used a different search term, and those papers would not have been able to catch it. But still, the fact here remains that we should have had that human intervention also at that stage. So maybe what we are at a stage where both the things are equally important, so we use the tool and we also have spent some time on it to validate what we are getting out of it. So we have a group where majority of them have not used, and a very good 17% of the people who are present today, they have used. And we would really love to hear from you guys that which tools have you used and what your experience has been. Okay. So now this is the first paper which we received where ChatGPT was mentioned as the author. If you see, the first author is GPT Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it all started with so it's actually an algorithm which is called GPT-3. All of you must be aware of it, and it wrote an academic thesis on itself within 2 hours. So that this is what was mind boggling. The researcher who directed the AI to write the paper submitted it to a journal with the bot's consent in June 2022. So this is something which is very recent, not even a year old paper. Now, the noise around ChatGPT in scientific publications. So, it's a kind of tool which all of you know that the users were 57 million users within the first month, went up to 100 million by January 2023, and March 2023 the users are 1.6 billion. So, if you see the growth which has happened, it's phenomenal. Publications related to chat gpt, so we don't find too many papers, too many, I would say. We could find review papers, editorials, but very few original research, or people who have actually analyzed, say, a paper where they used AI tool versus a manual. So that kind of literature was very few, and we could find around 280 publications which were in between November 2022 and 18th April 2023, which is still pretty significant for a new topic like this. Now, this is some of the top 10 AI tools. So there are many of them. If actually you start finding, you may come across hundreds of them which are for scientific publication. So you would have heard some of them, like Grammarly, all of us use, and we use it for editing, we use it for proofreading, and they have integrated AI into their system. Then there is Elicit, there is Sky Summary, so scientific summaries which are being prepared. Jenny is another one. Space is another one. So if you just see, this is just a list which is, I would say, kind of updated at to, today, like today itself, or maybe within this week. But if we go to the next week, probably the numbers would be different, the names will be different, and there may be some of them who are no longer there, and there may be some new names which appear. So now, coming to what kind of responses are these tools, these AI tools, getting from the scientific community and academicians? Now, many of the scientists actually started disapproving it, where they said that ChatGPT cannot be listed as author in research papers. So we did, come across some of the papers where ChatGPT, in fact, there was a publication in Nature also where ChatGPT was considered as the author. So this was the discussion where, all these, uh, I would say, concerns started happening. Now, how are we using the chat GPT in scientific publication or the generative AI tools in scientific publication? Now, certain areas in certain, I would say, situations where they can be of help. So when we think of what an AI tool can do and how can it support. So this slide is, more on, I would say, theoretically what a AI tool can do. So it can obviously assist in identifying the relevant literature. If you have a lot of literature, if you want to identify, what you can do is you can put some search strings there, and then see if you, or maybe ask some questions to the tool and see whether the answers are there in those papers or not. So screening of the papers kind of, can become easy. Generate text in a specific style or tone. So sometimes, you can write in whose style or what kind of tone do you want the paper to be written. So like, if especially I came across a very good use case here, where if we are writing for a patient, or maybe when we are writing lay summaries, and you have a scientific content which is too heavy on terms, what you can do is maybe write that, convert this into, summarize this as so that a 10-year-old can understand, 10-year-old child can understand, something like that. So those kind of, summarizing and generating draft versions is going to be much easier. Then where there are large amounts of text data, analyzing them, like, you might want to find what people are talking, what they are tweeting, how the social media posts which are coming. So all this you can, kind of find out. Then there is machine translation. Now, when we talk of publications, it is not only English language where publications are published. So there are various local languages, native languages, where research is conducted and published. So that becomes, that becomes easier dealing with it. And also, sometimes when you start on a topic and you may not know about everything about the topic, and this is especially for medical writers, the authors and, the researchers, they are subject matter experts and know their topics. But we as medical writers, when we come across any project, it might be a new topic, it might be a new therapy area which we are not, which we might not have worked in the past. So it becomes a very good, resource for people to get information and use it to enhance their knowledge. So these are certain areas where, we feel that the AI tool can assist in scientific publication. Now, this is one example where more than 3,000 word article was summarized by generative AI tool within seconds. But then it has a flip side to it also. Now we kind of, compared, if we are using the conventional publication process, where as I mentioned that, it is authors or maybe medical writers who are working on a publication, versus generative AI driven publication process. Now the literature summary time, literature search time is obviously, it is, exhaustive. Now if you want to do the literature search, if you're doing it using a AI tool, like, theoretically it can be done within less than 1 day, but just to be on a safer side, I would say a couple of days. If we keep, like, so we do a literature search, where we get the responses, and then we evaluate the literature and see whether, what the hits, the selection what we have has covered everything or not, and maybe do some random check in that database and see in case we have missed on anything. Then the second important point here is per article reading and summarizing. Normally, like, minimum of 30 minutes, but it can go up to, I would say, 1.5 to 2 hours, depending on how much the author or the writer knows the topic. And but in this case, the per article summarization can be done in few seconds. Obviously, the authenticity, whether everything is covered or not, all that is, still yet to be decided and evaluated. Then grammatical errors while paraphrasing and writing articles. Sometimes, when we are paraphrasing, or when we are maybe collating two or three articles together and writing for a publication, there are grammatical errors which can happen. So in this case, those grammatical errors are kind of well taken care of. But again, the misrepresentation or data misinterpretation might happen, where the author or the writer has to be careful about the turnaround time, where it is conceptualizing to the first draft, maybe weeks to months. Like for the first draft, anywhere between around 2 months. And if we talk about AI driven tool, I don't know, like people say that it can write a first draft in less than 1 day. Never tried it, not very sure about it. Love to hear from others who might have used it. So there are people, like especially students in schools and colleges, who are using these tools much more than professionals are using now. And I think if you want to know about AI tool, a 14-15 year old, a boy or a girl who's in a school, would be the best person to guide you on it. So having said that, now when we come to this is a very interesting quote. So Albert Einstein said that the problem of our time is not the atom bomb, but the human heart. And now, if we kind of paraphrase it to what we are talking today, the problem of our time is not artificial intelligence, but what humans can do with it. Now, what is more important is we do have a tool, we do have a kind of a platform where all these benefits are mentioned, and people have done it, and they have experienced it. Now, what is important is how are we going to use it, and what humans are going to do with it. Now, I showed one screen before where we spoke about summarizing, which was a in couple of seconds the paper was able to summarize. But now you see this example, you will see that the content was highly plagiarized. So the whole first sentence is absolutely copied the same. Now this is a very I would say a very serious concern, where when we are even when we are getting the output from the machine, we are getting the output from these AI tools, we have to see, we have to review. So maybe the initial part, which is very labor intense, so that work can be given to the machines and to the tools. But then eventually, when the document is final, and when it has to be submitted to a journal or maybe sent to a reviewer, that is where you have to go through the document in depth. And you just cannot, a writer or a author cannot just say that this is what I received from the chat bot, or maybe from the generative AI, and I'm not responsible for it. So we are responsible for the correctness, we are responsible for the accuracy of the references. And and we have to be careful about plagiarism also in this case. Another very disturbing fact, which many of you would have come across, is our hallucinations and invented references. So there are examples, and there are memes which are going around, where the tool normally it's very rare for the tool to say that no, I don't have answer for this. I've never faced that. So if I ask them something and there is no evidence around it, still they come up with some response to it, and then they put a reference which may not be existing. So that has happened, and this is one example of it. So hallucination, so we're calling this as hallucinations and invented references which were actually not there. So again, the I'm kind of reinforcing the factor that whatever references you get, whatever resources you are getting from these tools, we have to check them, cross check them before we before we finalize our publication. Another very interesting paper which we came across, where this was actually an editorial for Annals of Rheumatic Disease about how artificial intelligence may replace the rheumatologist in editorial writing. So they actually performed two tests to investigate. So the author actually was asking the same question to one of the rheumatologists, and the other question was asked to the AI tool. And the responses what the chat gpt was giving was very diplomatic, and the author suggested using AI as a tool to help the rheumatologist but not replace him. So we know this, that we can use it, but when we talk of like something which comes with experience, which comes with the practical knowledge of maybe prescribing, treating a patient, and the real life situations and how somebody is going to deal with it, there the human brain and how we react to it, how we kind of evolve or maybe manage that situation is very different from how the chat gpt or how the generative ai tool would respond. So ai will not be able to replace the critical thinking, expertise and experience of rheumatologists. So this was the summary of this editorial. While ai may be able to provide a wealth of information, it is a rheumatologist who must interpret this data and use it to inform their writing. Now very some very interesting papers which we came across, and we've kind of just kept them to 2023. So we have kind of categorized them into how academicians are perceiving, and the second set of paper is how the clinicians or maybe the practicing doctors are perceiving chat gpt. Now there is this paper, so we will be sharing all these, so these are freely available, and after this webinar you will receive the published papers, as if you guys want to read it and see what the inferences are. So Akhtar 2023, the application, what they said was that it helped to provide a relevant general introductory summary. So the introduction summary, summarizing, so that was good by this tool. Now what were the concerns and what were the limitations? It was unable to access relevant literature. So sometimes the relevant literature they were not able to access. Limited knowledge, but this is now being taken care of. So initially ChatGPT 3 was only till 2021, but now we have ChatGPT 4. And if you people are using the Bing as a browser, then you have ChatGPT which is integrated there. Citations were inaccurate and limited ability to critically discuss. So when the time came to critically discuss or maybe come up with some decision making there, so there ChatGPT or the ai tools were lacking. Now, the suggested actions and conclusions in this paper were ChatGPT cannot replace independent literature review in scientific research. So, you have to, so even if you are using a tool, you have to do it manually, simultaneously. Gradually, as we say that, when we talk of artificial intelligence, when we talk about machine learning, it's said that, it evolves with time, and the more number of situations are posed to it and the more responses that we receive, this machine will keep on learning. So the time might come and nobody can predict how much time it will be, or how much how much of data or maybe training is required. So that is not for any one of us to predict at this time. Second paper actually spoke about the benefits. What they mentioned were that it was original, precise, accurate responses with systematic approach. It was helpful for training and to improving the topic clarity. Sometimes you're not clear about the topic, you want more information, and you want a faster set of information to reach you. So this can be a good platform for that. Efficiency in time, obviously you're saving on time, and promoting motivation to write. So these tools can actually help you. So yesterday I was just I was I wanted to attend a conference, and there was abstract submission date which was coming up. So I just thought that why don't I ask a chat gpt what all topics can be there. So gave me some options, and then I read about it, and kind of when you have to do something like this, maybe you can use it. Now, the risk and concerns and some of the limitations: failure to follow instructions correctly on occasions. So this is a very common concern which is there. Failure to cite references in text. But we do have BioGPT, which is trained on PubMed and all the literature behind it. So let's see that how that performs. Lack of practical examples, lack of personal experience highlight, and superficial responses. Again, the same as what the previous paper said. Now, the suggested actions and conclusions here: ChatGPT can help in improving academic writing skills, advocate for universal design for learning, and proper use of ChatGPT under academic mentoring. So it's very important. So now, as anything good, if it goes into the hand of somebody who can misuse it, obviously it's not going to be anymore, still a good option and still a good tool. So it's very important for the academicians, for professors, for seniors to give that training or maybe that guidance and mentorship to the juniors on how to use it, and what are the best ways to use it. Now, the second couple of studies which we could find were clinicians and researchers, how were they perceiving ChatGPT? Now, there is this study which was Holzinger 2023, and they spoke about biomedical image analysis, diagnostic and disease prediction, personalized medicine, drug discovery development. So this is one area where I've seen a lot of, the AI tools are becoming very rampantly, they are being used, and they are creating these radiological diagnosis, and the reports are coming faster, and then obviously a radiologist will evaluate it and then maybe put the final signature, put the final approval there. Now the risks are again ethical and legal issues. And since the images analysis, what they are doing, they are not doing it from a clinical point of view. So sometimes there may be certain findings on a x-ray or on a CT scan which may not be correlated with the exact clinical situation of the patient. So that is something where a gap might be there. Limited data availability to train the models, and reproducibility of runs, that how whether next time when we are doing the same test or maybe the same report, is it going to be the same result that we are getting. The scientists aspire for fairness, open science, and open data. And another concern which is here is, if we talk about, say, confidentiality, or if such certain thing like this goes out in the open, these are public domains. So there may be chances of having, the data falling into the wrong hands, and maybe certain, implications due to that. The other interesting paper was MAN 2023, where they spoke about efficiency in writing, analysis of large data sets, which they analyzed. They predicted the risk factors for disease and disease outcomes. Again, their concerns were compromised quality of data available. So the data, what the tool was able to find out, it was compromised. Inability to understand the complexity of biologic systems. So ChatGPT use in scientific and medical journal is inevitable in near future. So one of the conclusions which they said, but obviously we'll have to learn it. We'll have to, if I can say this term, maybe tame the AI tools so that we can use it to the best of our capabilities. Now, why ChatGPT is becoming a threat to the scholarly journal? So we have misleading content. We've spoken about, so the contents may be misleading, inaccurate, plagiarized into the published literature. There is difficulty in distinguishing ChatGPT generated material. So there is peer review may not detect ChatGPT. So there are journals which are talking about, having their own tools, and there are certain tools where they are kind of, able to find out if it is if it is a AI generated content or not, and they are distinguishing it. So these are, couple of threats which are there to the scholarly journals. Now, coming to the ethical concerns and best practices in using Chat GPT, so I'm going to hand over the session to Dr. Shruti, and she will take you through this session, and then we will open up for question and answers. Over to Shruti.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Namrata, and I hope everyone can hear me. So coming to the, after we spoke about the good sides and the flip sides of using AI tools in scientific publications, there are some ethical concerns also, and there are now guidelines coming to how do we use this ChatGPT in scientific publications. So, okay. So the concerns, if I have to divide them, if I, I can just broadly classify them into two parts. One is the authenticity of the information provided in the publication. Now, as we, saw that there is plagiarism, there is, falsification of data, there is inaccurate data that is given, hallucination, invented references. So how do we check for the authenticity of this information which is there in the publication? So this is one of the major concerns which journal editors and the worldwide the researchers are facing. And second is one more important debate that goes along is, can we use ChatGPT as an author? Can ChatGPT become an author for for any kind of publication? So let us deal through both these concerns now. Okay. So what do the editors say? So there are few editorials which where people have put in their concerns and how you can use ChatGPT to the maximum possible use. but what are the risks, what are the concerns and limitations towards it. So these are four, of the many. There are definitely many more editorials which are available today, where people have talked about both the sides of ChatGPT, but these are just few that I picked up. One is this Chen 2023, which says that ChatGPT can be used to overcome the language barriers, which promotes equity in research. So where when you have when there are non-native English speakers, authors, then ChatGPT can definitely help them, because it takes care of the of using the correct language. The grammatical errors are minimized, so yes, that's definitely an add-on advantage for using. But there are ethical concerns. There would be ghostwriting, there is doubtful accuracy, citation issues would come. Okay, and so the editorial says that you need to embrace this innovation. We cannot run away from this kind of an innovation that has happened. It is going to be there, it is going to evolve with time. Okay, but we have to embrace it with an open mind. But at the same time, authors should have proper knowledge of how to exploit and how to use this AI tools to maximum use of the to use it maximally and efficiently. Okay, the second was the top 2022 paper, which says that the content that is given by ChatGPT may not be always original. Okay, there are a lot of incorrect answers that are given. One very common joke that has been floating across, all the platforms, even on Twitter and on WhatsApp, is where ChatGPT is. Um, asked a question whether what is 2 plus 3, and it says it's 5, and when you counteract and say no, it is 8, saying that my wife is always right, and this is the answer that's given by her. And so at some time ChatGPT gets confused and says that, okay, then in that case it may be 8. So that's a kind of limitation that we have for this particular software today. As in more and more it becomes evolved, more and more data points are added, more and more information gets added into this software, obviously it is evolved. But currently, as of today, if we have to use this chat gpt, we have to use it with a pinch of salt, that the content may not be original. They may give you incorrect answers, that is hallucinations may happen. There is issue of references, there is risk of plagiarism. Okay, and so the editor says that whenever you are using chat gpt, please revise it properly. Okay, use it very meticulously, but use it very consciously, that it should not be a scientific misconduct. Okay, the one more paper says that, by Kitamura, it says that it improves the efficiency, no doubt about it. It saves a lot of time in doing your mundane tasks, like getting through those literature references, reading through them, selecting the right kind of references. So it really helps you a lot. Okay, but there are ethical concerns, there is a plagiarism issue, there is lack of originality, there's inaccurate data. So all of these editors have pointed out to the same things over and over again, that is plagiarism, that is inaccuracy in information. The content may be highly compromised content. There are ethical concerns, there may be inaccurate information, there may be redundancy in information. So these things may happen. Okay, so but we cannot the takeaway message is that in spite of all of those things, it is going to be there, it is going to stay. And so we have to embrace the innovation, and we have to take it with a with a pinch of salt. We have to see how we can evolve it better for for using it to the maximum, and ensuring that, because that's going to save our time, that's going to make us more efficient in tasks where we are really required to work on. Okay. So, this is the guideline which is given by WAME, that is the World Association of Medical Editors, which came just recently, and they say that a human author, okay, must always ensure the authenticity and correctness of facts. So, whenever we are using ChatGPT, do not use it blindly, because there are papers which say, now this is one paper which have found that that the percentage of correct references which are used was only 6%. So maximum references were all fabricated references. They were all falsified references, invented references. So when a chat GPT gives you a reference, please cross check it with with the databases that you are working on, whether it's PubMed, Embase, Obid, whichever database, even Google for that matter. You please do a cross check and use it. So you have to ensure, a human author must ensure the authenticity and correctness of facts. We cannot rely completely on the machine as of today. Okay. Before we go on to the next part, we just wanted to know if what is your opinion? Can we use ChatGPT as a author, or shouldn't we use it as an author? Okay. So almost half of this audience is saying that no, we should not use it as an author, but we should be using it as these, they should not be used as an author. uh, but there is a small proportion which is also saying that yes, we can definitely use it as an author. Now let us try to understand why chat gpt should not be given that authorship. So before we go on to this debate, let us first try to understand the authorship criteria which is given by ICMJE. ICMJE is International Congress for Medical Journal Editors. So what does this group tells you, that when who can become an author? So for someone to become an author, he or she has to have a substantial contribution to the conception or the design of the work. So he or she should be participated actively in the study design or in the study acquisition, that is acquisition of the data, or in the data analysis or the data interpretation. Okay. Apart from that, he or she should also have been working actively in drafting the manuscript and critically at least give inputs for intellectual content, which means that if you are involving a medical writer, the author should be involved in the review process for that particular manuscript. Then along with that, he or she should also be providing the final approval of the version that needs to be published. And the most importantly, which was we added somewhere in 2013, which says that there has to be an agreement that the author takes, all the people who are listed as author, they take complete onus of the work that is being presented or being published in that particular article. So this is, there is no or in between. If just to give you more insight, it is that stringent of a criteria that all these things are required for someone to become an author. Okay. Now let us see the chat gpt, whether it can uh, uh, comply to all these four characteristics, all these four requirements, and then we find that no, this is not so. So chatbots or any kind of generative AI tools which are there, they cannot be authors. The reason is that they do not meet the requirements for authorship, because you are using it as a tool. You are using it as a tool to find answers. Chat gpt was not there in the conceptualization of your design, or it has not reviewed what you have written or what it has given. It has not approved it. It cannot approve, right? It is only giving you the input, it is only giving you the output. Okay. It does not have any provision for to say that I approve whatever is going out. Okay. And it does not take onus of whatever is being published. So these, it does not meet the ICMJ criteria. Most important thing, chat gpt, it's a tool, it's a machine, so it does not understand the conflict of interest statement, okay, of the legal understanding and it does not have that authority to sign that statement, which is required today. When you are going to submit anything, we all know that that when we have to submit a article to any kind of journal, then there are few things that we need to comply with. One of them is the conflict of interest statement. The second important thing is a copyright issues. Okay. A chatbot or any kind of generative oi cannot hold copyright. Okay. And it does not have any other conflict it does not have any conflict affiliation apart from, it's independent of that of a creator. So if a creator is working with a particular pharma company, the chatbot is also, ultimately it's a part of that same pharma company, part of the same creator. So whatever conflict is going to be there for that creator, it's going to hold true for the chatbot also. Okay, so there is always a risk of bias, when you are using these chatbots. It all depends upon what kind of questions that you are going to ask, and that's the reason why a chatbots cannot be used as authors for any of the publications. Okay, then when Vame came out with this kind of recommendations, which is just recently published, I think somewhere in March 2023, February 2023. Okay, several journals also started implementing this in their regular practice. So we have BMJ, Science, Elsewhere, we have Lancet, and there are definitely many more journals. These are just the primary, most important journals, or what I would say, the most commonly used journals that or publishing houses that I have put here. But obviously, with any JM has got its own criteria. There are Hindavi has come out with its own criteria. So each one of them have ensured that they have put this on paper, that ChatGPT cannot be used as an author for scientific publications, very, very, very clearly into their instructions to authors. Okay. Okay, now if you are using, and undoubtedly we are all going to use some or the other AI tools, okay, for scientific publications, because it is going to save our time. Okay, so then how do we use it? Can we should we just stop using it, or should we just keep it as a secret? So yes, we should be transparent. If we are use any kind of chat GPT or any kind of chatbots, any kind of AI tools for creating that kind of an article, it authors should be transparent about it. Okay, and authors using this any kind of chatbot should declare this fact along with the complete technical specifications of the chatbot use, which means you have to give the name of the chatbot, the version, the model, the source from which you have taken it. Okay, and all of it, like the method of applications in the paper. Since this is still evolving field, maybe tomorrow, or there will be a separate section along with, where just like we now have a section for acknowledgement, we have a section for data sharing. Maybe tomorrow we may have a section where we have to declare and we have to give this, the details about the chatbots, and how did we what are the kind of queries that we had asked, what is the syntax that was used in getting in obtaining the responses from this chat box, all of these things. But as of today, the journals, they do encourage that we need to at least give the technical specifications of that chatbots. If you have use it, the name, the version, the model, and source. This definitely will be revised quite, I'm sure it will be revised quite faster, and where we need to we need to include this in the how do you include it into your publication. Okay, and this, how do we include it in now, how do we acknowledge it? So it can be the same way, the way that you are currently acknowledging the writing assistance, wherein at the end of your manuscript, you say that this manuscript was written in assistance with or writing assistance or editorial assistance were provided by XYZ person from XYZ institute or from your own institute, and you acknowledge your statistician, you acknowledge your patients, your other doctors who have participated in the study. The same way here, you can also provide this declaration that this particular piece of work that you're trying to publish could not have been possible without the use of this particular machine, and then into parentheses you need to give the details about the machine that you have used. Okay, so this is just a retaliation of the same thing. How do we reference a chat GPT or any kind of AI tool if we have used it in your scientific publication? So declare this fact. Okay, so where you declare it, you can declare it in the acknowledgement section as per the MAME guidelines, and you can provide the full technical specifications of that chatbot, which includes the name, version, model, and source, and the method of applications in the paper. Where you have used a chatbot, you may have used it for creating a figure, you may have used it for for reference check. You may have used it for doing a detailed, systematic literature review. You may have used it for, creating your own research questions. Wherever you have used it, you need to give that very transparently in the acknowledgement section. Just to sum up on what we did today, so AI, we know that they cannot replace humans as of today, but humans definitely can use AI. And you know um this use humans using AI might replace humans not using AI. So we need to start embrace this technology and start using it as, to the best of our benefit. Okay, AI tools, definitely they are not humans, they are still machines, and machines lack human touch, which is very clearly seen here as well. So it is not going to completely replace a human being from writing their own manuscripts, or writing their own research pieces. Okay, AI still cannot ensure complete content accuracy, coherence, and credibility. So it still needs human intervention to help them up, to ensure the authenticity and the correctness of the information that is going to get published. Okay, and now with this, I think we open it for the question and answer sessions. Can we have the questions here, please?
Okay, so the first question is, are these AI tools validated? They are, I would say, they are still work in progress. And the validation is something where there are new versions coming up. A new ChatGPT 5 is expected to come somewhere in September, October. And I'm not aware of any, fixed kind of proper validation which is there for these tools.
I think researchers need to validate it now
Yeah.
using with human
So the
intervention.
validation, what we can do is, probably ourselves, depending on our subject matter expertise and our own experiences, we can, validate whatever we are getting out, whatever outputs we are getting. What about use of Evolve GPT-4 and Auto GPT for medical scientific writers? So I think what we can say here is it can do some of the mundane task, which is very time consuming, but obviously it cannot do everything whatever a writer does. So how, like, we actually some we had I had included in one of the slides also that the writer can spend on more, high level activities. So like the literature search can be done faster by these tools, and then the writer can maybe, work more on the key messaging, the objectives, the way forward, and on those things. So I guess that is where I see the current, tools being useful. I've heard ChatGPT has data only till 2021, 2022. So how can we use effectively? So we do have certain, like, there is Bing.com, which is Microsoft browser, and then there is other extension which is there for Google Chrome, which is ChatGPT sidebar. And if you have that extension in the Google thing, then you can kind of it is linked to the internet. Then it is the latest literature what it is coming up with. So Bing.com and then ChatGPT sidebar is where. Will hallucinations and invented references go away as machine learns and upgrades? I don't think we have yet the answers for this, because the invented references, as I did see, one of the comments, somebody else has also commented that when we talk about these machines, the machines are giving us information what they are trained on. So if this reference was not there and still it is coming out, then there is somewhere, there is, a gap there or mistake which is happening, and not very sure whether it will go away with more training or it might increase with more training. So we were not sure about this. Authenticity of ChatGPT material, there are certain AI content detector tools which are there, and you can maybe put, but they
Ma'am.
obviously they are not 100% proof. Shruti, anything to add here?
Now, I think Correct. As of today, the best way to check the authenticity is manual, using a human intervention and checking whether the material that is being given is really whether it is correct information or not.
Yeah, so there are certain tools which are, saying that they are checking whether the content is generated by machine or it is human generated. But again, like you will have to take that with a pinch of salt. Curious to know where does the fabricated information come from if we are training the AI or setting it up per our objectives to get the desired output. Since we say that it is based on our prompts and partly this is what I was talking the same comment which I was talking about. So since we're talking of a machine and we are talking of probably we don't have all answers, and that is why all these aberrations are coming. So gradually with time, it can get better, it can get worse. Only time can tell. So that's why I feel the very important aspect which all of us have to consider here is what all activities we are involved in. That's not going to go anywhere. So whatever a writer is doing, whatever author is doing, a researcher is doing, the research what you're conducting, that you will have to be a part of it. The only thing what we can do is maybe some bit of it, maybe we can increase our productivity, we can enhance our efficiency, is all that we should be aiming for, at least with whatever limited knowledge we have now.
I just wanted to add here about the fabricated information. So many times, what I have seen is that it takes prompts from your own, questions that
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
asked.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
this,
sometimes you keep on saying this, that no, this is what I feel it is right, he's saying or she's saying this, and then eventually it's as if it's like a parent who eventually gives in to a child, something like that, that
yeah,
okay, fine, you're saying it, so it must be correct.
yes.
So something like that, and then it goes into the the database, and then somebody else, if he picks up the same question, then they may get the responses based on your interaction with the tool. If principal author is working in physio department and he or she send his article for critical review regarding the academic writing and technicalities of the manuscript to the I department clinician, can the second author will get original credit? If you're sending it for review, then I don't think that the person becomes the author here.
Yeah.
So for authorship, the person should have contributed to the content, to the data, and to the conduct of the study. So reviewer is not considered as author. Is AI decreasing the work activity or increasing the activity, or no change in our? As I told you, this example, what we did, we tried to experiment on a project, and then after that, I got so scared. I said, "No, fine, do everything manually. Even if you're using a AI tool, everybody has to check it manually." So that's how the situation is right now. But I'm sure we might see a change. But as I mentioned before, also we really don't know how much time it will take and how much effort it is going to take. Any new job role you foresee coming in for medical scientific writers related to AI? I think people do talk now. The machines are answering you what you're asking them, and whatever your experience is and whatever your expertise is, you have to ask the right questions. And you would have heard about prompt engineers and prompt engineering as coming up as career options now. So similarly, for a medical writer, I think what is important for us, so as we spoke, this was just a very small part of AI which we took up today, which was only related to content. But then there is also going to be like images where we will the writers use images, the writers use so many other things. So I'm sure there is going to be a lot of, I would not say a new role which is coming up, but it would be something like a medical writer who knows how to use AI. That becomes the next level of career, or the next level of step which you might have to take. So there are two sets now: medical writers who do not use AI, who do not explore AI, and the second set becomes medical writers or scientific writers who use AI, who explore, who browse, who actually are curious about it. And when you are curious, you ask questions, you read about it, and then eventually you might learn something out of it. So currently I don't see any reduction in the effort hours.
Yes.
Is it acceptable to use AI for editing or translation? I think for editing, it is acceptable, but still you'll have to see whether the paraphrasing which is done or the change, it's not changing the meaning. That's important. And translation again, because when we talk about medical literature, when we talk about scientific literature, even if we are getting translation done from a native language speaker, still there are chances of misinterpretation there, because if I have written in English and I am going to maybe translate it into Dutch or maybe French. So the person who's doing it, if they don't have medical and scientific background, obviously they will not, they might misinterpret it. So that caveat is still here. And people are using for editing, people are using for translation, but again it's the same, that you have to be careful. How can we tame AI or use AI or learn AI specific for regulatory writers? Yes. So this is very important. Now, what is happening here is, now for these confidential documents, and in fact, the scientific documents also, the AI tools which we will be using in future, they are going to be kind of a part of a system where maybe like maybe linked to our Outlook IDs, or maybe linked to our institution servers and network. Something, putting these information where it is right now. I would not advise any one of you to go to ChatGPT, to go to Bing.com and just upload your publication or maybe a project which you're working for a client. That's not something which you should be doing. So the experiment which we did it, even that was done on our server, and we had developed a separate tool. It was not something which was in the public domain. So never put your documents, your confidential documents there. That's important. And that is something for the companies and for the institutions to take care of. We cannot have the same tools which are freely available. Now you have this ChatGPT subscription which is there for $20 a month, and it says that the responses which people get from there, it is better, and some good responses are coming. But still, it should be something which is integrated with your, so you have APIs, you have other things where you can integrate it in your own platform. So for regulatory writers and for both scientific writers and for any company or for any institution, we have to be very careful. I'm sure you must have heard about the Samsung incident which happened a couple of I think months back, where they uploaded some code on Chat GPT, and then it was hacked, and the other people, the competitors, could get the code. So that's something, it's a real problem, and we have to be careful there when we are dealing with clients, when we are dealing with different stakeholders.
I just wanted to add here that yes, I mean, I will not say that AI will be used more by scientific writers or regulatory writers. In fact, if AI has to be used, I think in future, depending upon the confidentiality of information and all those things, if it is taken care of, I think for the regulatory writing part, it would be the easiest thing to do because these are template driven. So I remember that for narrative writing, AI can be used very easily because all you have to have is you have a COMS data. So earlier, where people used to actually sit and go through each and every safety. What to say finding that has happened with a particular patient, and then create that narrative which takes approximately the entire day at times, so depending upon the therapeutic area that you're looking. If an AI tool is been integrated, then I think it can just reduce the time significantly, because you just give the keywords and AI can, with the help of this AI tool, you can have a good, perfectly correct, or what I say, narrative being developed. So yes, I mean, for regulatory writing also it will be used. We just have to wait and see how AI currently is being how it is going to get advanced with time, and how accurately it can give us this
Yeah,
information.
so it's like a trailer at this point of time.
Yes.
The movie is being developed, the movie is being created. So we are just seeing a trailer right now. Whatever information we have, it is just enough for a trailer to be made. The movie will take time. Review writing, same. I think you can do literature search from ChatGPT, try to find out your literature and summarize. If say, if you have three papers which you are trying to summarize into maybe a small paragraph, then you can kind of give the prompts. The prompts have to be given in a very intelligent way. So suppose you, in a paper, you want safety to be highlighted, and you want the safety information of say four or five papers to be collated maybe as a table or maybe together. So these kind of prompts you can give, and then you'll get. But then obviously once you get the information, you'll have to quickly cross check and see whether everything is there, right, or not, or any changes needs to be done. How can we handle hallucination? Just by cross checking and verifying the. So suppose it gives you a reference. Obviously you would want to open the reference and see, and that you come to know. So you will never put a literature in a paper without opening the reference. So we always read the paper, we always go through the reference whenever we are finding it ourselves, or if we sometimes we take references from a review paper. We take original research articles from review paper and then use them as our references, but then we definitely go through those papers. The same we'll have to do here also. Is it ethical to edit and improve the AI suggested writing? Yes, definitely. There's no problem in this. BioGPT is another one which is coming up. Yes, considered. Right, Dr. Shamaz. So BioGPT, we'll have to wait and see. As medical writing is already a huge impact on regulatory affairs, what would be the impact of AI on regulatory affairs, medical writing? I think the impact is going to be the same as on any other, type of medical writing or any other type of domain or maybe industry, because you will have to validate, and there is a lot of confidentiality which is there. The security has to be top notch, the sharing, and so all those hurdles which are there are definitely going to be there. And once all that is passed, then maybe these tools can be used to enhance the efficiency, and maybe a smaller team can deliver more work. That's how I see it as, rather than maybe reducing the work or something like that. That's not going to be the case. And another impact which will have will be probably on the freshers or maybe new people who are joining the industry at this point of time. For them it is very important to understand the scenario, understand the nuances around medical writing, how things are changing, and be prepared with it when you are giving your interviews or when you are applying for jobs. So that's important. But and somebody who's already in a company, already into a system and working as a medical writer, they cannot dismiss that I'm not going to use AI and I'll do the work on my own. So that is something which I think both the end of people will have to accept and integrate in their normal working. Otherwise the impacts will take time for us to make any comment on this or maybe know the exact outcomes. Yes, we will be sharing the literature what we collected. So there are some very good papers and some very good references which we had. So we learned a lot while preparing this presentation. I really had no idea that there is so much of information there, and because of this webinar I also learned a lot.
Yes, definitely. We all learned a lot in this session, and I mean, one thing is for sure that we should not fear the AI. AI is going to be there. Yeah, it's definitely going to be there for long with all of us. So I remember somewhere in 1990s, people were fearing the with computers coming, people would lose a lot of jobs. But no, it gave way to a lot of many more jobs. The same thing is true with AI. Okay, because we know that this hallucinations will happen, there will be incorrect references. So maybe tomorrow you'll have jobs to correct those. You'll have jobs to cross check, validate, those kind of things. There'll be a newer kind of what do you say, job profiles which should be available. And definitely, uh, the- for a writer or for an author, it is going to be, it will save a lot of time, because as we mentioned, some of the time consuming mundane tasks can be reduced considerably if we use it wisely. So I think it's all up to us how we use it and how we take it.
There is a comment, there is a question in the public chat box. Please do more sessions on same topic. So we do plan to, conduct a follow-up webinar on this, where we are trying to evaluate the best tools which are there, which can be used, and we'll see how many, we can cover in a webinar. Maybe 4 or 5 good tools where we can give some demonstration and how it can be used. So we were thinking of that. So we are working on it. And there is one question which I found in the, if someone do a research regarding the shortcomings of ChatGPT and will send for publication, but during the lag time of publication, the ChatGPT will answer these shortcomings and the work of researchers.
No.
Yeah. So you can always, put a date there, like we do when we are doing a literature search. We have a date till where we did the literature search. So you can always, and whenever we take a reference, which is an online reference, we write at the end, accessed on so and so date. So similarly, if you are doing a research on, comparing the chat GPT and, coming up with something, you can always say, as we mentioned in this webinar, that whatever information we are providing you, it is based on till the information which is available till 18th of April 2023. So obviously, and but how fast things are growing. So maybe you might have to, select a journal which has a quicker publication time, and maybe, then something might, you can fastly publish it, and, it can happen. Please organize. We are sorry, Dr. Arun. We are medical people. We are medical writers, and I'm a pediatrician by qualification. Shruti is a PhD in oncology, and we will not be. So, what topic do you want in humanities and social science? Like writing, I guess the
We
basics are
can
all
do that.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but we normally, like, we the webinars what we conduct are largely on medical writing. Yes, we do provide courses for medical writers. We do have some, I think, a publication courses coming up, and we have tried to have, include one session of Chat GPT also in our upcoming publication course, because we wanted, so whatever we are learning and whatever we are, coming across new information, we update our training course almost, like, though the broad topic stays the same. So we have two training courses. One is focused on medical communications, which is medico marketing documents. The other one is focused on publications and conference presentations. But then we kind of, we keep on update. So there was a new good publication practice which came up. We covered that. Now we have added Chat GPT. So one of the two sessions are always new, and we do have courses. And one of our team members can, Isha, maybe reach out to you. Uh, is this a question? No.
No,
Uh,
I think he just gave about the topics
uh,
that he wants for humanities and
okay,
social sciences.
okay, okay,
So,
okay.
yeah, for English language and literature.
Literature. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I would say, it was a challenge for us, and we enjoyed it. Me and Shruti, both of us, we really enjoyed working on this, and having this webinar today. We ourselves got enriched with the amount of information which was there, and plus also, kind of came across the gaps which are there. So these are some of the generative AI tools, some examples. And so you have text generation tools, which are GPT, Jasper, AI Writer, Lex. There is image generation tool. Midjourney is something which, I've seen people using it a lot. Music generation, code generation, voice synthesis, or AI chip design tool companies which are there. So there is a lot of, information out there. We'll see, we'll try to kind of, have a follow-up webinar, as I mentioned. And if you guys need any specific topic which you want us to do a webinar on, please feel free to respond. So all of you will be receiving the recording, the PowerPoint presentation which we presented today, as well as all the references which, we could get, and which are freely available. Those articles we will definitely share with you. And do reach out to us and let us know if there are any specific topics that you want us to cover. We would be happy to take it up. Okay, so if we have nothing else, so it's a I would say bye from our side, and thank you so much once again. And it was lovely to talk with all of you, and listen, respond to your queries, and give our presentation. And thank you so much, and hopefully we will soon meet again. Thank you, Shruti, and thank you for the team, which works behind it. So Sri Bhagwan, Gursimran, everybody, who makes this whole process of conducting a webinar so simple and so easy for us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Turacos team. Thanks a
Thank,
lot.
thank you, everyone.